Today we're going to talk about the principles of giving. The principles of giving are deeply rooted in the Bible. So many promises are dependent upon our willingness to give. We often hear verses quoted about these promises before an offering is received at church. You'll hear things like Luke 6:38, "Give, and it shall be given unto you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over." 2 Corinthians 9:7, "Every man, according as he purposeth in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly or of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver." A cheerful giver, the word cheerful is closely connected to the word willing. How willing are you to give? How willing are you to go? How willing are you to serve? Make this a matter of prayer. Lord, help me be cheerful in my giving, my going, and my serving. This verse also challenges us to not give grudgingly. I had to do some research on this word because I couldn't imagine how the concept of giving and holding a grudge were connected. In my research, I learned something really cool. This word actually means without grieving. Grieving, that's grief. And grief is the pain associated with the loss of something. It's being sad because you lost something or you lost someone. When you give willingly, then you didn't lose anything. There's no reason to grieve the loss of money if you willingly gave it away. This principle goes all the way back to Old Testament book of Deuteronomy. The New Living Translation of Deuteronomy 15:10 says, "Give generously to the poor, not grudgingly, for the Lord your God will bless you in everything you do." What a promise. Let that sink in for a minute. The Lord will bless you in everything you do if you don't give grudgingly. Everything you'll do will be blessed if you're generous. It's that simple. Don't grieve the loss of food that you give to the hungry. You don't grieve the loss of water that you give to the thirsty. You don't grieve the loss of a coat that you willingly gave to someone else. You didn't lose the money. You gave it away because you had compassion on someone. And that's the key. Compassion and willingness and generosity all work together. I love how God connected a promise to our willingness to give. God will bless everything we do. Your work, your education, your family, your home, your health. Everything you do will be blessed, and that is a promise from God. But the promises don't stop there. I'm going to show you two verses that have literally changed my life, and I pray that they will help you change your approach to giving also. They're found in Proverbs chapter 11, verses 24 and 25. New Living Translation says it this way, "Give freely and become more wealthy. Be stingy and lose everything. The generous will prosper, and those who refresh others will themselves be refreshed." It's easy to only think of money when we think about giving, but the Bible does not restrict giving to a dollar amount. Let's study these verses and see how they can apply to way more than just money. The King James says, "There is that scattereth, yet increases." This is an analogy that is about sowing seed. The principle is about giving in general. If you sow, you'll receive. If you give money to those in need, you'll get more to give. If you love others, if you spend time with others, if you give hope to the hopeless, if you strengthen or comfort or support others. By the way, those three words, that's actually the definition of the word edification that we find in the Bible, where we are commanded to edify one another, to strengthen one another, support one another, give of ourselves to others. King James Version of Proverbs 11:25 says, "He that watereth shall be watered also." Think about how those words are like refreshing waters. Do you know how good it feels to know that someone took time to pray for you? What if you made praying for others a standard practice of giving? This is what I mean by giving is about so much more than just money. It's about how you give to refresh others, to bless others. Let's be honest. You may not have any money to give away, but that doesn't mean that you're excluded from being blessed. The promises of blessings are connected to our willingness to give in general. It's not necessarily about a dollar amount. let me encourage you to give through prayer. Praying for blessings to come on someone else, praying for people's bodies and minds to be healed, praying for their hearts to be filled with joy. These are ways that you can refresh others by giving of your time to pray for them, and you're doing that out of compassion. Humans love words of affirmation. We all do. Telling someone how much you appreciate them, telling them how much they mean to you, telling someone you took time to pray for their needs. These are all refreshing words. And let me encourage you to be generous with your time, your words, and your prayer. Let's go back to 2 Corinthians 9 and 7, the one that says God loves a cheerful giver. When it talks about every man according as he purposeth in his heart, let him give. I want to talk about that a little bit more because I think we can learn some very valuable life lessons from that. It says, according as he purposeth in his heart. To purpose in your heart is to prioritize one thing over another. This is about how we prioritize our time, how we prioritize our money. It's about making a decision to choose one thing over another. So how do you prioritize your money? I want you to imagine with me, if you will, all of your expenses, how you spend your money. List them in order of importance from the least important to the most. Where does Starbucks rank on that list? Where does in-game purchases rank? Where does giving in the offering rank? Where does giving to those in need rank? If you say, I'll let the grown-ups do all the giving and I'll just do all the receiving, then you're actually keeping yourself from being blessed. And remember, the promise is that everything can be blessed when we're generous. God's blessings do not have an age requirement attached to them. Anyone can be blessed. The Apostle Paul quoted Jesus in Acts chapter 20, verse 35, when he said, it's more blessed to give than to receive. And I pray that this lesson has helped you better understand how it's more blessed to give to receive. It's because God has promised blessings on those who do give. When you receive just one thing. But when you give, God blesses everything. A 16-year-old can be blessed just as much as a 60-year-old. The blessings of God are for anyone who is obedient to his word. I encourage you to take time to memorize these verses that I've shared in this lesson. Use them to encourage others to be generous also. May God bless you as you give according to his word.